training here. Um, Hopefully everyone is okay with recording, and then you can go back and look at it. We will email you the link, right, Lizzie? Okay, let's hit the next slide. All right, so here's our agenda. Um, we're going to talk about housekeeping. We are recording. Please take yourself off video if you're uncomfortable with that. We'll do some introductions. Sarah Ross from Prison Neighborhood Arts and Education Project is our guest speaker tonight. I'm really excited. We'll have time for questions, and then we're going to just mention our upcoming trainings. So housekeeping. We're going to ask everyone to use the chat to introduce yourself, kind of say why you're here or how you come to the work, or if you have a loved one incarcerated. And if everyone could stay on mute so we can keep background noise down, be great. So Restore Justice, for those of you who are not familiar with us, we work on a state level, really Illinois-focused policy reforms that impact people serving extreme prison sentences. We also work with their family. We have an emphasis on youth and emerging adults. This is me, Julie Anderson. I'm the outreach director here at Restore Justice. And I'm not going to read this. I'll just tell you a little bit about me. I got involved with this work. My son, Eric, was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole in 1995. He was 15 years old at the time. And in Illinois, life means life. We lived with that sentence for over 2 decades. And in 2012, the U.S. Supreme Court had a ruling called Miller. Eric was resentenced, and he did 27 and a half years. And I'm really happy to say he is home. He's been home a year, and it's kind of, I never thought that day would happen. I'm still really involved with the work. I'm the coordinator of CRIC, which is Communities and Relatives of Illinois Incarcerated Citizens. We believe that family members serve right alongside those people inside and need as much support as they can get, and really need to learn. The DOC is, it's such a difficult, after 27 years, I still don't really know how to navigate it, but we try to share as much information as we can. Okay. Sarah Ross, she is an artist, and I am not going to read this whole thing, but I'm going to tell you she is an amazing human. Her projects, she uses photo, video, works collaboratively with other artists. Sarah co-founded Prison and Neighborhoods Art Education Project, PNAP. It's a cultural project that brings together artists, writers. During this time, she's worked closely with local artists. Sarah also, I'm going to skip a little bit, but in 2024, she co-founded with Pablo Mendoza, Walls Turned Sideways. This is a gallery and community space dedicated to people impacted by incarceration. Those inside and those who've been released. She works to produce videos, photos. Her work has been exhibited in Los Angeles, New York, oh my gosh, Copenhagen. See, we're so cool. And she's also worked inside, this is how I met Sarah, is she worked inside Stateville Prison in teaching. And my son, Eric, was incarcerated when she was teaching, and he was lucky enough to get her class. And he said, Mom, you have to meet this lady. She's amazing. So the rest is history. Okay. Sorry if I didn't read it all, Sarah. Okay, and now I am going to turn it over to Sarah.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Sarah Ross, and yeah, I met Julie years ago and just have learned so much from her and really just respect all the work that you all do organizing together and being together to support each other. You know, the support and care that you give to your community inside also makes you know, more productive space for us as educators to do the work we do. So thank you, and thanks for being here. I'm going to talk about higher education in prison. I am one of many people, who are in the Zoom room right now, who have been doing this work for some time. And Ashton Hasselton's here, so is Rebecca Ginsburg, and I've worked with both of those folks for many years to both build up and support people around the state to start projects in prison, and also some of the materials that I'm using comes directly from an amazing report that is there a way to increase my volume? I'm going to talk with my teacher's voice. I don't know if you can hear any better that way. So one of the resources that I'm going to share is actually from the EJP website. And it's really a comprehensive guide to what is higher education in prison. And then we can just kind of talk also more generally about, you know, questions that you guys have about, you know, what's happening inside, what people should know, etc. And I do have this document. It's going to take me a second to find it, but nonetheless, I just want to reference that because the author of the document is nonetheless but Ashton Hasselton, who's here, and probably could have done this presentation as much better or as well as I'm going to do it. So having said that, I'm going to jump in and I'm going to share my screen as people do. And so can everybody see my screen? Just like a thumbs up or something. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of different opportunities for people in prison, and also not enough. I'll start with this slide here, which is a postcard I picked up a long time ago at some kind of flea mall or something. And it says Day School, Illinois State Penitentiary, Joliet, Illinois. Each scholar attends school 1 hour a day. And I just thought that the language that's used here, calling folks scholars, too bad they only go to school for 1 hour a day. They probably do other terrible drudgery work the rest of the day. But just to look at this postcard, I've always thought it was really interesting. You know, it looks like kind of the majority of people in the class are white, roughly. So I think that was always interesting. And then also too that people were termed as scholars, which is just kind of not the language that the state uses now often. But it's often the language that we use because we do work with folks inside who are doing scholarship and bring a whole body of knowledge to the work that we bring. So this again is from the document that I'm going to share with you that, you know, in Illinois in the 60s, we were the first state in the nation to offer full-time degree granting college and prison programs. In 1992, every prison offered some form of higher education. And then in 89, the state put in restrictions. And then 1994, federal funding put in restriction. And it kind of meant a disappearance of a lot of the college and prison programs. So if you talk to folks who have been in for a very long time, sadly, but they do know all this kind of amazing history of they know all this kind of amazing history about classes that were offered at one time. So what's happening now in Illinois prisons is that different kinds of programming has different contracts with Department of Corrections, and I'm just kind of segregating the programs by that, just to kind of illustrate different kinds of programming happening. And maybe Ashton or Rebecca can even talk more about the community colleges. But there are community colleges that are contracted with Department of Corrections. I used to teach in one. They're, you know, just fine programs. Sometimes by day, the folks who worked in the community college program, they also worked at the prison, which, you know, when I came into the community college programs, I remember feeling like, you know, this is like almost 18 years ago, feeling like, oh, who do I turn to like reckon with this really weird environment that we're in and this problematic, wholly problematic environment. And a lot of the other teachers were just like, they were working there by day, so they didn't really feel, they didn't have the same kind of maybe critical framework that I was trying to bring to the work. Not better or worse, but just different. But the colleges are contracted with Department of Corrections, and they get paid. There's when I was teaching through community college, I was paid through the community college, but the majority of their programming is vocational training, and they really only have some academic courses. And where they do have academic courses, ostensibly they can offer an associate's degree. And for those of you who aren't familiar, a bachelor's degree, a 4-year degree, often is 120 credits. And the associate's degree usually can provide the first 60 credits. And then a student can transfer into a 4-year college to complete it. So, this is true inside as it is outside. Ashton or Rebecca, do you know if there's that many more community colleges offering classes inside anymore? I know DAC does, maybe Lakeland, but there's not tons. Is that right? They might have gone off screen.
As far as I know, oh, I'm sorry, Rebecca. As far as I know, that is correct. Since the pandemic, DAC is the only community college that's offering a full transferable associate's degree. But Lakeland was doing that prior to the pandemic and may restart again.
Okay. Yeah, Rebecca, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't. It's just that, as you know, Lakeland used to offer so much academic programming, and we're looking forward to it resuming. Hopefully it will.
Yeah. And I just want to point out that I think the community colleges are a really, special place, that they already had this contract with Department of Corrections. They have this longer history of offering associate's degrees in prison. And it's really, just a tragedy that they have receded, because it's just one area of state funding that, should we believe, or I'll believe, that state funding should be going to offer people inside education. And when it rescinds, it often doesn't come back in the same way. So other programs that are available are programs kind of like the one that I co-started and the one that Rebecca and Ashton are part of, and Rebecca started. And these programs, we don't take funding from Department of Corrections, and instead we raise private or other public funds to deliver educational courses. And some of us have 2-year degrees or 4-year degree programs, or we just generally offer classes. And I just mentioned that because sometimes we're able just to come to, I don't know, I don't think there's anything essential about the community college that makes them so different. But when I taught in them, they just had limited funding. There was like less resources. And then when we built our own program, then we could build in the resources that we needed to make a really robust educational space. So let's see. So these are the programs where there are education, and these are the prisons where there are education programs. So you can see there's not many, and this is taken directly from the report that Ashton put together that I'm going to share out with you. There's not that many people involved in higher education and prison programs, because they're not offered in the majority of prisons. And so, through the work that Illinois Coalition of Higher Education and Prison, the work that Education Justice Project, and where Rebecca and Ashton work, and many other programs have been really huge advocates of trying to support educators across the state to start programs, because you can look at maps and see the relationship to where colleges are and prisons are, and there's so many ways in which we could be offering more. But oftentimes, some of the logistics, like dealing with the prison, becomes an issue, and also funding. Again, directly from the report that Ashton created, these are 19 prisons across the state that don't have anything. Menard Correctional Center has a little star beside it because.
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah.
It's Rebecca. I think maybe if you advance the slide, because we're seeing something different on our screens.
Oh. Huh, what are you seeing? Are you seeing that?
Now we do.
Okay. I'll leave it in this format then. Okay. So like I said, very few programs, very few people have access to it. These are the places that don't have any educational programs that we know of. Um, and again, it's just, there's all kinds of barriers to why that happens. But I'm going to kind of go do a little overview of what programs there are in prison. And this, I'm going to kind of try to run through it fast. But if folks have questions, you should stop and ask me. Because I did look up all the kinds of things of like how people get into these programs, etc. Adler University, that's located here.
Sarah,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. It's Rebecca again. There's some activity in the chat. I wonder if you can go back to show the slide that has all the prisons that do have programs.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah.
I think there's interest in that. Thanks, and sorry to keep interrupting you.
Okay. No.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Okay. So can't see. Okay. So okay. So these are the prisons that do have programs, and I'm going to go by them. I'm going to go through them one by one and share what they do have. And then these are the ones that don't have. Is that good for folks?
Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
I think especially because you're going to go through them and share what ones do have. Yeah. That's probably the more important.
So again, this doesn't list community college programs because there are not any except for the Danville Area Community College. And also too, like I said, they're a little bit of a different beast than the kinds of programs that we have run in the past. So Adler University is located here in Chicago. They are, a big therapy, psychology school, and they offer a Bachelor of Science in. Thank you for that link. So Ashton just put the link to the whole downloadable PDF. I really recommend you download that PDF and send it out to people because it has much more robust information. And again, a lot of that information I pulled from here, so I'm just giving you like a snapshot. Adler offers an online remote program. They give students laptops in order to do that work, and they do Zoom classes, etc. And people can get a Bachelor of Science in Applied Psychology. Their website says that, but then it also says that it's a degree completion program. So if you have somebody in Big Money who's interested in classes, I really encourage you to ask Adler or contact Adler about what's needed to get in. You might have to have existing credits, but many people often do have something like that they can use. Augustana College, they've been doing great. They opened a couple years ago. They have a liberal arts focus. They're in East Moline prison, and they're doing really great work. They're a four-year program directly out of East Moline, out of Augustana College at East Moline prison. Danville has Education Justice Project, where they offer, among many things, classes. But I think that you guys have about 12 or 14 different projects there. Rebecca, or Ashton, do you want to say anything to put you on the spot?
Oh, no, I'm happy to just say quickly, it's Rebecca, that we have 12 different programs, including 4 credit courses. A person does need 40 credit hours of lower division academic work before they can enroll in the University of Illinois program, which is supported by the Education Justice Project. We also have opportunities for people to learn English as a second language, and we do some leadership and violence prevention work with guys in the general population as well. And I think I heard you say earlier, Sarah, that we're hoping, we have a contract to start at Menard. Whenever it gets signed, we will be able to launch a program at Menard Correctional Center.
Yeah, thanks for adding that. I started to, but I didn't finish, so thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
And yeah, so there's so many amazing leaders in the city of Chicago that have come out of EJP, and I just have always respected this project. I think through the many different kinds of ways in which Education Justice Project and other programs are offering, we're often not only just classes, because every university, every college has all kinds of things for students. Whereas in the prison, they kind of sometimes just want us to offer our classes, check the boxes, and go. And through lots of effort, people have, these different programs like EJP have really expanded what education is inside, and acknowledge that it is things like, language partners, it is things like mindfulness, and those are really critical things to have while people are also in school, or if they're not eligible to get in classes, they have other outlets. So it's super important. And then Eastern Illinois University is a, Rebecca, do you want to say anything about this, because you know more than I do at this point?
Oh, thanks. I'm happy to say, and thank you to Lizzie for doing that. Eastern Illinois has been at Danville Correctional Center for a couple of years. They offer a degree, a bachelor's degree. You need to have, I believe it's 30 credit hours of lower division work to enroll in Eastern. And they're very generous in accepting prior work experience and translating that into credits, and life experience and translating that into credits.
Yeah.
And all they do currently is offer courses, but their students have access to our library and our computer lab to provide them support as they're going through the curriculum.
Yeah, which is huge.
Could I ask a question? Like, just what does lower division credits mean?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, when you start off college classes, that means that, you're taking writing 101. This is like if you typically went through college on the outside, that's what, lower division is usually 1,000 and 2,000 level classes. And that's exactly what a community college offers, usually 1 and 2,000 level classes. And then people often, well, if they want to get a 4-year degree, they're transfer to a 4-year college, right? And so for a lot of folks inside, my experience at least is that people have come, they might have taken a couple of classes before they went in. Somebody said that their person was in the military. You can see that Eastern Illinois accepts credits earned through military and other professional training. So some people come into prison having some experiences behind their belt that some of these college programs can help transfer into college credit. They can say, oh yeah, you went through a professional training program and learned how to do business management. Okay, we can look at the work you've done in that experience and transfer that into a college credit. So it's a kind of college program that it privileges competency in an area of study, not only credits in an area of study. So that's one version of college experience. But lower division usually means the first 20 first 60 credits. Does that make sense to folks, or are there other questions there?
That makes sense. It just seems if you had to have 40 of those, it would be maybe challenging if the community colleges aren't out there, right?
Exactly. So that's one of the huge losses from the community colleges, is that many people were able to get into programs because they already came in with things under their belt. So that's a huge gap. So the credit-based classes, really they need the number credits to prove that you have, those experiences under your belt. Don't let that discourage people inside, and reach out to ILCHEP, reach out to any of us here to try to think about where you can get some of those credits if you don't have them yet. So that's at Danville Prison. So there's both a community college at Danville, Education Justice Project, and Eastern Illinois University. At Hill Prison, Knox Colleges is offering a few classes a year. They plan to build this kind of Walls to Bridges program, but right now it's just a couple of classes a year. Also, Walls Turn Sideways, the gallery that Julie referenced, that myself and Pablo Mendoza opened. We offer a correspondence art and writing project called Hill Art Exchange. That actually just emerged because some of our students at Stateville were like, we got transferred here and there's nothing here. And so, and that was before the next college program got offered. And so we do some occasional visits there to do in-person critiques, but it's just a correspondence program. If people want to, if you have artists or writers out there that want to correspond and get some feedback on their creative work, that's what we're doing. And we always try to build, some pedagogical materials in so people can continue to challenge themselves. At Sheridan Prison, there's Lewis University. They just recently started. That's Lewis University is out in Joliet, and they are a 4-year program. They offer a Bachelor's of Arts and Professional Studies, and it says that the program's transfer friendly and allows students to earn college credits from prior experiences and non-credit learning. So you can see that there's a handful of programs that are trying to acknowledge the areas of study and the work that people have done inside, and make and see those as non-credit learning, but that can kind of parlay into credit bearing courses. Millikan University at Decatur Prison offers a Shakespeare program. It's a 9-month program, and it focuses on writing, activism, writing, acting, maybe activism too, and they do a Shakespeare work in that program. Logan Prison offers PNAP, the organization that I'm with, offers a couple of reading groups on a semester schedule. It's not credit bearing. Northwestern University did offer classes there. I don't know, Ashton or Rebecca, if you know that that's still going. I wasn't sure, and I couldn't tell. But as of last year, 2023, they offered credits to Northwestern Professional Studies program, offered classes at Logan Prison. And then North Park University also had started a program, and they are they're a Christian university, and they offer classes in the School of Restorative Arts. At Stateville, there's 4 different college programs there. And as you guys know, Stateville's slated to close, as is Logan. And so PNAP, again, the organization I'm with, we offer mostly non-credit classes. That's the majority of the work that they do. So if people want to take classes because they're interested in education writ large, they don't have to have any credits or anything to get in them. And that's also true of many of EJP's programs and some of the other college programs. When they offer things that are not just the classes, then anybody can get into those, not just the college credit classes, then anybody can get into those programs. So we typically offer about 13 classes or 15 classes a year there. And then we have a small college program that's offered through Northeastern Illinois University. And that's a bachelor degree. Again, it uses people's prior learning experiences to get them to that kind of 60 credits before, so that they can then enroll in the Northeastern Illinois University programming. And that university programming is being put on hold right now. So this is our last cohort for the moment. And there's just some changes that are being made, and I'm not sure. I can't report on what's going to happen next because I'm not sure yet. Northwestern, again, offers a liberal arts college curriculum at Stateville. They partner with Oakton Community College to get those first 60 credits under students' belts. And then after that, the students can graduate with a degree from Northwestern with a Bachelor of Arts from their professional studies program. North Park University also offers a 4-year Master of Arts in Christian Ministry, and with this restorative justice focus, and a 2-year transformative justice certificate program. And then DePaul University has offered between 1 and 3 classes a year. Their classes are often around political science, masculinity studies, things like that. And then they have a year-round think tank. So that's what's happening. that's kind of a roster of classes. Maybe before I go on, does anybody have any questions?
Lizzie, was there any in the chat?
Not that you haven't already covered.
Oh, because I'm wondering, we all know Stateville is slated to close. Has there been any talk about any of these universities moving those classes to other prisons?
Yeah.
The one that they're having is,
Yeah. Well, I'm going to answer what Ronnie said in the, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, but there's not anything that I know of at Lawrence. I know that one of our students got transferred there, and his mom talks to me often and says that he hasn't been able to find very much. So that's really upsetting. At Stateville, so Stateville slated to close. It looked like that they were going to close down like in September. But it sounds like that they might slow things down a little bit because I think the guards union raised a bunch of questions and concerns. I know that with many of us, we are hoping to move to Dixon because Dixon is an hour and a half away from Chicago, whereas they have encouraged us to move to Hill or to Illinois River, which those prisons are 3.5 hours away. There's no way that we could do that. So that's what the move is now. The state is saying that there's not enough resources for things to happen in Dixon, but I think that there's going to be a push to do that anyway. And so that is, so Stateville is going to say, I said, sorry, I didn't know Stateville was saying closed. I had applied. It might be that that's why he hasn't heard anything, Lisa. I'm not sure like what program he applied to, but I'm happy to, if you want to ask specifically, feel free. I know that Northwestern is moving to Sheridan. Yeah.
So it's Dallas.
Yeah.
Not Lisa. We're just on her Zoom. But he had applied to the Northwestern one.
Okay.
So
I think he should probably hear back. I'm thinking he should hear back from them. I would just encourage to ask again. But they are moving. They're going to move their whole cohort to Sheridan, but that's what I've last understood.
Okay.
So I encourage him to keep bugging Northwestern to get an answer, but also too that if he has a chance to move, if people are in Stateville and they have a chance to move to another place, then maybe that they could go to any of these other places. And Julie, the thing about Stateville is they've been transferring people to Hill, to Danville, to Sheridan, even with life and long sentences.
Yeah, I just wondered if, they're going to, because Stateville that answered my question about Dixon, because Stateville has, because of its proximity, right, which is the same with Danville, because of their proximity to universities, they've actually had more offerings. Yeah. And somebody pointed out that they're all like minimums or mediums, which is true. Like East Moline's a minimum, and Sheridan is a very special place. I believe that it's to get in there is also kind of challenging because it's for addiction or something like that.
That's been my understanding too. But as I've noticed, so when I started teaching in Stateville, there were like probably 1,800 people behind that max wall. And now there are like 350. And so I've been watching people transfer out and figuring out where they're going. And like I've seen people with like, really long or life sentences go to places like Sheridan. So I'm not sure what that means. I do know a lot of people got transferred to Hill and Lawrence. But I think that I'm not, it's interesting. What the next time you have Jennifer Perrick on or something like that, it'd be interesting to ask how they might be changing their security levels, because in other states, security is not based. Sometimes it's not based on time. It's just based on like behavior. And so that changes the calculus of how people can get access to resources. if they can go to a minimum or medium security prison, then they have way more resources, even though they might have a long sentence. I don't, yeah.
And this is valuable information for everyone on here whose loved one wants to get into classes.
Yeah.
Because when you talk about transfers, according to the transfer coordinator, one of the things they look at when you ask for a transfer is, in fact, I want to go to Dixon because Northwestern's going to be there and I want to pursue my education or whatever. So it's really good to keep this information, because when they ask for a transfer, that type of information is really good for them to put in their transfer request.
Yeah.
Doesn't always work, but it's it's the best way to do it.
I just want to jump in and say that Barbara has had her hand up for a moment, and I want to give her a chance to ask her question.
Oh, you're
Barbara,
on.
we need you to unmute. Sorry. We can't hear you.
Now can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So I'm the pen pal coordinator for the Unitarian Universalist Prison Ministry. So I got an email from a person who said he got transferred to Graham. Is that right? Anyway, I lost so much with the transfer. It's really hard. I had a job as a clerk in the kitchen, was in a bachelor's degree program with Eastern Illinois, and I just got in the education justice program with the University of Illinois, and now I'm transferred here and I have to start all over. Is there any way to mitigate that sort of thing? Do they take into account people who are in programs and try to keep them in there, or, you know, he's starting over?
Can I just ask, we just had a new student who got, I guess that's him, who got transferred out.
Right.
Oh my goodness, what a small and unhappy world.
Right.
Right. I won't interrupt. I was just struck by the letter, of course. Thank you.
I mean, Barbara, Rebecca, you can chime in too, but Barbara, you know, for years we have been asking Department of Corrections to put transfer holds on people who get into college programs. And to my knowledge, you know, at Stateville, we've been able to manage that with most of our college students, but the students who are taking our classes writ large that are not in this tiny degree program we have, they have no protections whatsoever. Rebecca, does EJP have any transfer holds?
You know what? It's in our new memo of understanding that we're working on right now with the prison, but it hasn't been signed yet, which makes me frustrated.
Yes.
There's nothing that we can do, I'm afraid. It's really hard. He can request a transfer back. In some cases, we've had success with students requesting educational transfers back. The population is low enough now within the Department of Corrections that it's easier for people to be moved around. The bed space is not as tight. So he might even have some success that way.
Yeah, just sent me an email I just got it today saying he was trying to transfer into Sheridan.
Okay, that's great then.
Great. Yeah,
good luck to him.
Yeah. Okay. I just went back to this slide because I just wanted to note that Northwestern University, when Stateville closes, you know, 99.9% positive they're going to go to Sheridan, not to Dixon. PNAP, North Park, DePaul, and one other group that I didn't list here actually called Theater Y. They're a theater program. They are all trying to move together to Dixon because we have so many students that overlap. And we've kind of, you know, pulled these lists and seen all these overlapping students. So, so that's the hope. You know, I'm not sure how fast the state is moving on our behalf or anybody else's behalf to make that happen, but that's what we've asked for. I also just wanted to point out this Coalition for Higher Education in Prison that Rebecca and myself and Ashton have all been members of and helped organize, et cetera, et cetera. And this is a little bit of an old slide, but we got started this Coalition for Illinois for Higher Education in Prison, basically around our, kitchen tables and, on the floor of our living rooms. because we all face the same problems that you probably face as a visitor or a loved one of someone inside, which is that the rules are uneven. There was, arbitrary punishments. There are arbitrary scrutiny of normal education materials in our case, and arbitrary discrimination of our students. And so we formed this coalition to try to bring educators across the state together to create a community, to create models, to support, incarcerated folks' freedom and development, et cetera, et cetera. And so I just wanted to point out that there is a coalition. You can get on their listserv and learn about things that are happening across the state. And they have some of the same resources that Ashton, that's in Ashton's packet that she posted in the chat. Again, I can't tell you how important it would be to download that. And if you could print it out, send it to your person, or just have it on hand, because it really is an up-to-date list of what's offered right now. And then the other question that often comes up is how do people get access to those education programs? You can request a transfer. We just talked about that. Each program has a different admissions process. Ooh, why am I not on screen? Each person has a, it's like my dog's talking. Sorry, I didn't realize that my face was not on screen the whole time. Apologies. And so I really encourage you to go to their websites and try to see what they offer or what they ask for in terms of an application. So everybody's different, just kind of like how colleges are on the outside. We all have different application processes and require different things. Some people like PNAP, and I was looking at Augustana College, they ask for we ask for an essay, and so it's the bar is not too high. We're really trying to make sure that people understand what it takes to get in, but then once people are in, it's pretty serious work. So I just encourage you to support your person to make those applications, and then of course be consistent, be persistent, because in my experience, it's like you have to be a squeaky wheel to get into anything in Department of Corrections. And many of you already know this. I'm preaching to the choir, but just, persistence. For many of you, you might already know this, but I met so many students over the years that it took them 6 or 8 years just to get into a GED course, and they kept at it. That should not be the case. There's no reason why that should happen, but it is the reality of Department of Corrections in this moment. And so I just really encourage you to be persistent and encouraging to your loved one or your friends inside to get access. Let's see. And then I just encourage you to, of course, be supportive, join ILCHEP listserv, come to any upcoming events or meetings that the different college programs offer. We all offer things on our campuses. Many of us offer, events on campuses or events in the community, and it's just a great way to get to learn about what's happening. So from there, if there's something I didn't cover, let me know. If there's questions, concerns, debates.
I'm going to say that, yeah, it's really good if, I really like this idea that how can people support ILCHEP, because that's one of the things that people on the outside can do and need to do to be that voice. And I know you do have to be persistent with transfers. Lizzie, if you didn't see it, she posted in the chat. As I said, we had the transfer coordinator on our last call, but we weren't allowed to record it. But we did take detailed notes and we did write those up, and she put them in the chat for anyone who, this is what the transfer coordinator said. I will share with you that at that training, I did ask her if she could put the criteria for each facility on the website, because it seems to be a mystery criteria. They say I can't find it anywhere. And I have followed up with the director's staff about that, and I haven't seen it yet because I know people ask for transfers and they're told, well, you don't qualify for that. So there have to be qualifications written somewhere, right? Or I don't know, but we are working on that too.
Yeah, thanks. This is really good information. And yeah, everybody here probably knows this, but the rules do change all the time. We have students in our courses that arbitrarily get kicked out, and the educational coordinator at the prison will say, oh, they have a ticket or they have a this, and we're like, where is it written that you can't be in a class with a ticket? Like, tell us. And but she's less than forthcoming. So yeah, it's been a challenge, but I think that the more of us that make those requests slash demands, the more that we are squeaky wheel, we get heard a little bit. So that's the hope.
Yeah, and then I'm just wondering if Rebecca and Ashton have anything they can add. And I'm so glad you both came on the call.
This is Rebecca. I'm sorry, I'm driving and I can't see if Ashton was about to speak or anything. But I wanted to add something about the task force on higher education in prison, which came up, a governor appointed task force that came up with something like 31 recommendations to expand access to quality higher education in Illinois prisons. As part of the Freedom to Learn campaign, which Ashton and I are both part of, we've been working with legislators to get some of those recommendations turned into law. And we've had some modest success and plan to keep on moving forward. Ashton, if you could please, I'm hoping you're at a laptop, maybe put some contact information to Freedom to Learn in the chat. So if anybody wants to learn more about the campaign and how they can support it, because we expect to be introducing legislation in 2025, we can always use the support and the testimony and the experience of family members who are so vital to the discussion about expanding access. Thanks for the opportunity to plug Freedom to Learn.
That's amazing. Yes, please share that.
Yes, thank you, Julie, for the opportunity, and Rebecca for sharing that. I did put a link in the chat to some more information about the statewide task force. In addition to that, I hope you will find that the 2023 directory is helpful. We're in the process of working on the 2024 directory and also working on a student guide or a prospective student guide to higher education in prison. And that will provide a little more detail into what are the eligibility requirements? What is the application process like? And so we hope to really shed light on how more people can access these programs. So thank you for having this training, and we hope to learn more and share more as we figure it out. So thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Do people have questions, I hope?
There's one in the chat. There's one in the chat about sharing any information. Oh, Sarah just answered it, but for people who aren't looking at the chat, about how to teach in higher education in prison.
Yeah, I mean, I just put in there that many faculty come from the universities and colleges that are teaching in those places, and then of course, a lot of schools hire adjunct faculty. At PNAP, we because we're not a degree, we have a small college program, but then outside of that, it's pretty open, and so we have a space on our website where people can inquire and put in a request. So yeah. The other question says, the other thing that I wanted to mention is that, EJP says they hire instructors. Check out their website. They're at Danville. The other thing that somebody asked about their person is at Illinois River. And I think I don't like to rely on the IDOC website because it doesn't, it's, it's really partial. But when I go to Illinois River, I do see that it has like horticulture, automotive technology, culinary arts, academic courses. So I do encourage you to ask, what they are doing there. A lot of times this is it's old information. They're not putting it up there now, and they don't, have it active, but just having people call in could be a way to kind of nudge. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, they asked, okay, you did answer that, Ashton. Thanks.
Yeah.
About Sheridan.
Yeah.
My son spent some time in Illinois River, and Lakeland College was there, but I believe they had offered 1 or 2 classes. They couldn't get instructors, and when COVID hit, I don't believe that they have
Yeah.
reopened those classes at all.
Julie, you might be able to answer this question. Maybe Christine is asking, who do we ask those questions to? If you wanted to know what was happening at an individual institution, I mean, for me, I would probably call either a counselor, or I would call that I would ask to talk to the educational facilities administrator. The person's called the EFA. And usually the person on the phone call will be like, who are you? Why do you want to answer? Why do you want that? But you could say, I don't know, say who you are, or ask for say you're an educator or something like that, and ask the EFA what are options for your loved one or your friends to get into classes.
Yeah, I would, and I would not hesitate to ask for the warden's office for that if the EFA didn't help you. And what I want to also do, and Lizzie can share this video, is we did a training on how to do a FOIA, a Freedom of Information Act. And you can absolutely send in a Freedom of Information Act to the Illinois Department of Corrections. By law, they have to answer you, and you can ask what that facility is offering in the way of programs. And if you need help with that, I will put my email in there and I will help you. I am on a big FOIA kick with the DOC. So I'm like, we sent 50 of them last week. I'm super on them.
Yeah, if they're giving you the runaround, a FOIA is a good way to at least see what they have to tell you.
Yeah.
Yes, right. And we can word it so they have to tell you what is in there. I know that sounds like a FOIA, but it's pretty simple and straightforward to do. It's just a 1 piece of paper. Just kind of write it in there. I'll give you the address is actually in that video we have, who to write at the Illinois Department of Corrections. My goal is to empower all of you. We need to be a thorn in their side, because if we're quiet, nothing gets done, right? So
one thing I also want to just offer about these programs is that we all raise money to offer books, notebooks, art supplies. This is not a for profit venture for any of us. And just recently, the educational facilities administrator at Stateville, with whom I don't have a great relationship with because I'm always bugging them. They recently just told us that we shouldn't be bringing in art supplies because people can buy it from the commissary. And that's not right. So, they might say something like that on a regular basis, and we just constantly push back. So also know if you're getting some information from your loved one or your friends and they're having problems, like something like that, just ask them to be in touch with us, or for you to be in touch with us to try to figure out what's going on. But we have to push back against things that are, and this is a reoccurring problem every year and a half. She says this, and we have to say no, that's not right, and we have to go through all these channels to so it's just kind of like little roadblocks that they put up all the time. And that sounds very callous, I know, but it's kind of been our experience. And so, you know, just know that we are often trying to do the best we can. And also too, just the negotiation with the prison is as difficult with anybody else. That, you know, as you visit your loved one, etc. So yeah.
Lisa has her hand up.
It's Dallas, not
It's not
Lisa.
Lisa.
Dallas.
Oh,
It's Dallas again.
Dallas, yes. Hi.
Hi. Actually, Lisa's here, and I was just going to share, because this is something that we did a couple years ago for Dre. There's a program through, I think it's called Blackstone University, and they offer a paralegal, was it a certificate or associate? Certificate. And the reason that we were able to do that one is because they don't require a proctor, and it's all like handwritten. They don't need like a computer or anything to do the courses. So Dre completed that certificate, and we just paid for it out of pocket. Wow. Mainly because I think we had tried like another program, and he started it, but they wouldn't let him write the exam because nobody was willing to be like the proctor for the exam. So Blackstone is another option if anybody is unable to get into some of these programs.
That's great.
And here's a good note on Blackstone in the paralegal certificate is that you are eligible to receive good time for getting that certificate, which is significant. It's a lot of time, actually.
Yeah, that's true too.
Good time meaning you get time off of your sentence.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, we can.
I do have a question.
Yes.
This is Steve Lukash. I actually live in St. Louis, but I've been doing prison ministry down at Menard for the past 10 years. And so I haven't heard too much about anything that's happening down at Menard in terms of higher education. So what are some things, who do you even contact at the prison to try to make something like that happen? We do a lot with the chaplain down there, and we're starting to make some inroads with the warden and also the assistant warden. And I think something like this is much needed down there. They haven't had a lot of resources, to my knowledge, to help them with anything to advance, their knowledge and their chance to do something with their lives inside the prison. And then Sarah's, I know when we go down and do our retreats, we go down and do 2 a year. And I'll be amazed at the artistic work that we see throughout those retreats. And I wonder if Sarah, with that PNAT program, if they have done anything or thought of doing anything with people down at Menard. In fact, when you guys had your recent meeting, your annual meeting, I guess, up in Chicago, and you had your silent auction. I know two of those paintings were done by Eden, who I know very well because he's been through our prison ministry down there. And that's just a small sample, I think, of what a number of them can do down there. So I don't know if anything, most of the stuff I've heard this evening has to do with the upper part of the state, which I understand because you're based out of Chicago. Do you get universities involved? I mean, or like a community college? I think SWIC is the closest one to Chester, being out of Belleville. Do you try to get people involved from the community programs to get involved with education?
Well, I do think, and Sarah, you can go back to this. You had spoke about the university going into Menard, and it's right.
That's really for Rebecca. I think Rebecca would be a good person to answer this part. Yeah.
Hi. Hello from Myers. I'm really happy to meet you, Steve, and I hope that we can connect sometime. One of the things I said earlier is that I'm from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. We have a program at Danville, and we're working up a contract with the Department of Corrections to start a program at Menard, precisely because, as you pointed out, there are so few resources and opportunities for people there. The MOU has been sitting on the desk of IDOC Council since January. We continue to push, but we won't be able to start programming until the MOU is signed. You're absolutely right that the way that higher education in prison works is that a university or college has to provide the programming. So one of the challenges we face is convincing our colleagues in higher education to offer these programs and get involved in in the kind of work that PNAP and EJP and so many other programs do. So Steve, I wonder if you can leave your email in the chat, because since we expect eventually to be at Menard, it'd be wonderful to have contacts with other people who are already doing work there.
Okay,
Thanks.
I can do that. Do you, are a lot of these classes taught in person or online by the universities?
They're different. I mean, Sarah spoke to the Adler program, for example, which is completely online. Our program at Menard and our program at Danville will be in person.
Okay.
But there's much variety in the field.
Okay.
But I think the majority of programs, I mean, maybe I could speak, I'll speak for myself, but I think we're EJP folks often concur that we have really pushed hard for in-person education. It's a really important function to be, sitting side by side with somebody to work things out. We've all taught, or most of us taught online during COVID, and it was terrible. There's like 15 people in a room, and then and it's not like this interaction, right? It's like 15 people trying to get into it in front of a camera, etc. So, when we hear the state talking about online education, sure, that could be part of the ecology of education, but we really are pushing for in-person education because I think it provides a lot more unique opportunities to be connected with each other. So there's that. And then the other thing in terms of art, I will say that I have brokered this deal with Hill Prison that the person from the leisure time services will package up all the art and send it to me. And then we do our critiques. We put a bunch of art resources, materials in, and then we send it back. If that could be brokered at Menard, I'd be happy to expand it. A little nervous about it, but because there's a lot of artists, but anyway, yeah, I mean, our goal is to be able to support artists, across the state with resources and ideas, because it's one thing that, every prison has a whole art crew, and, the art crew is the people who send cards home and all kinds of things. So it's an important function, I always say there's no Walgreens in prison to go buy a Mother's Day card. So you have this team of artists that do that really important, intimate, affective work,
And I have some beautiful cards. And I want to say, Steve, yes, when he said about our auction, he was referring to Restore Justice recently had a fundraiser a few weeks ago. And we do a silent auction, and we try to have, it's not huge, but we try to have a few items, and we always get art from guys inside, and it's always just very desirable. It always sells really well, and we can't thank them enough. And for the guys inside, it's a way for them to give back to the community from behind prison walls. So we do thank them.
Yeah.
It was,
yeah, that was. I don't want to go off on a different route here, but it may tie in with some of the educational opportunities at prisons. I know one of the biggest problems they got right now down at Menard is lack of manpower. So they don't have a lot of security down there. I think they said they're down almost 25% in terms of the security they have down there. So that limits them. Whatever opportunity they do have are even limited even more because of the shortage of manpower. Are none of the other prisons in Illinois facing those
You will find every single loved one on here will tell you that visits get canceled repeatedly because of staff shortages, shortages. I have brought this up to the director and the director's staff many times because that's their excuse for everything. And I'm like, I have a way that a real easy fix on that. Like let people out of prison.
Right.
Take everyone who's got less than 2 years and let them go home. Then you won't have a staff shortage. Consolidate them. They are short 25% staff, but you know what else? The prison population is also down 25%. They don't mention that because they would have to consolidate facilities, and correctional officers don't want to consolidate facilities. It's much easier to close visiting and restrict classes and everything else. So
yeah, I just want to concur with that. Just this summer, they cut our classes to every other week. We run, a regular summer session, and now they've cut it in half. So, with this, explanation about low staffing, and another, in addition to letting people out, they have these ratios that they say, well, we need one officer per 10 men or something, or women or whatever. And, they could change that ratio too. They could say one officer per 30 people. When I used to teach at Danville, there was one officer on the hallway for about 6 classes. Well, at Stateville, they have 5 officers, for a couple of classes, and they say they're understaffed. And so I just think that they could also very well change their own calculus of what security means or security looks like. And because we know that actually what makes places safe are places where people have community and things to do. That's actually what creates safety.
And visits.
Yeah, and visits.
Family visits.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like that their calculus on safety is really one that is not true. And I would never start a program just to keep lockdowns from happening. But I would tell you that when we started at Stateville 13 years ago, we had lockdowns all the time. And as we stayed there and more programs come in, you could go a whole semester without a lockdown. That was like unheard of, when we started. And so I think we really did change the just culture of the place.
Yeah, I hope
That's
there's no
been the same.
DOC on here on the call. Lizzie, don't share the recording with them.
I mean, I think that honestly, I feel like officers know this too. They will say as much. And so so I think that they, if people know it, but it's attached to some people's jobs and the miserable lockup of others.
Yeah. And yeah, changing the culture is something that there's quite a few organizations, and even the director's staff is aware that the culture needs to change. It just doesn't happen quickly. Yeah. The director's here and the rank and file is down there, and it's a challenge. But I think programming and I think supporting Freedom to Learn campaign is really on all of us.
Yeah.
Help in whatever way we can. That means calling your legislator. Diana, did you have something? Or
yeah, I have a question. I'm sorry I came on late. I'm visiting family out east, so we were at the pool. Anyway, my question is, I have a pen pal at Muddy Waters who has petitioned or tried to get into the transfer into completing his BA at Sheridan. And, do you know how they can find out if they're accepted or any information? Maybe you covered that. I apologize for being late.
That's okay. One thing you should know is that actually Big Muddy Prison actually has a college program there. It's an online college program through Adler University. So I encourage him to look into that. And then the program at Sheridan is Lewis University. And so you could go online to Lewis University.
Is that National Lewis?
It's
No,
not.
It's Lewis, Lewis.
Yeah. And then I still don't know why I can't find that. Oh, here we go. I'm gonna put into the chat one more time, and Diana, if you can, I really encourage you to download this document that was written by Ashton Hosselton, who's here, and it has really all the programs in addition to the contact information.
Okay.
Of each program. So you could contact, you could give it to your person, or you could contact the Lewis University and ask about how someone gets enrolled, and that would help your pen pal.
Okay. I'm trying to find it in here.
It's in the chat. I don't know if you can see the chat.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat now. Oh, here.
All the way at the bottom.
Ashton, thank you for sharing your contact info. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And it looks like there's another question in here. How important is length of sentence left to admission to any of these programs? They mentioned Lewis specifically, and what does Sheridan require?
So I, again, encourage you to contact them directly. The person who runs the Lewis program, her name's Michelle Clifton Soderstrom. Her last name might have changed. Anyway, the short of it is that it should not matter. Department of Corrections has often pushed many of us who teach in prisons to not accept, to accept people with shorter terms. And we have, repetitively said, no, this is ridiculous. This doesn't make sense. And because of where I've been teaching for 13 years at Stateville, we just really advocated that it does not matter the length of sentence or the what a person's convicted for. But some programs do have frameworks around that. Like some of the ones will say that they can't take folks with a sex offense, crime, etc. But many of us are totally open. So sometimes the barrier is more on the Department of Corrections than it is on the program.
Okay. Well, I can give you all back about 12 minutes if everyone's done asking questions.
Should I do our little wrap up, Julie?
Yes, we're going to do our little wrap up.
Awesome. Here we go.
So tentatively set is August 20th for our next loved one self-advocacy training. And it is the last one of the year. And it's programs in the DOC. And this, we hope to have Chief Jennifer Perrick, who is on the director's staff. She's the chief of programs. And I think a lot of the questions we had here might be applicable for Chief Perrick. I am still kind of waiting for confirmation, so it's tentative, but August 20th is pretty far away, so I feel pretty confident.
And I did create an Eventbrite page for folks to register. So if you want to go ahead and sign up, even though it's still sort of a tentative date, you'll be able to get updates through there if the date adjusts at all. But you can go ahead and sign up at the link in the chat, or we'll send the slides out afterward.
Cool. Okay, and Restore Justice does legislative advocacy training, which can be used for our legislative agenda, but also any legislative agenda. And we do them virtual and in person. And you can see June 26th is the next one. It's virtual. The ones in person are up here. Although, Steve, I'll say, if you're ever interested in having us come down towards St. Louis, we do travel. If we can get a group together, let us know. So July 20th, that's in person. July 31st, virtual building relationships with legislators, and August 17th, the same one in person. And there's the link to register. And if you have questions about this or need to get in touch with anyone you talk to here, let me know and I can connect you or whatever else. I want to thank Sarah and Ashton, and I know Rebecca left, but this was a great panel.
Yeah, thank you.
If it's okay, Julie, I'll just say that for folks who are interested, PNAP opened a gallery that is on the west side. I'm just going to put a link. We have a gallery and community space, and we have a range of meetings and events. And so if folks are interested, check us out. We're on by California and Madison Avenue. The gallery always features work that is about issues of incarceration or by people who have been impacted by incarceration. We have a bunch of poetry. We have poetry events. We have an open art studio on Saturdays, and we have circles and other kinds of things for folks who have been impacted who are coming home. So be in touch.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Julie.